Okay, welcome STEM enthusiasts. My name is Ambericent Cornett, and I'll be your host for today's inaugural installment of the STEM Speaker Series. I'm the president-elect of the Association for Women in Science, District of Columbia chapter, and a multidisciplinary scientist in intelligence, information operations, and cybersecurity SME, and also a technology doctoral candidate. I have a diverse background that spans about 22 years of military and intelligence service, as well as working in the financial and public health sectors. I am currently an elected governing counselor for also the American Public Health Association's epidemiology section, and I've held roles in engineering, project management, and space medicine epidemiology for about 10 years at NASA Johnson Space Center in my hometown, Houston, Texas. So our STEM speakers will be based on individuals in no particular order, S, T, E, A, and M, and showcase specialties in each category, and not just in the United States, but globally. Now, I've been fortunate enough to traverse a flourishing academic and professional journey enriched by the vibrant emergence of new professionals and the established presence of seasoned experts and their relative fields. So today is a continuation of that enriching experience. I'm privileged to welcome my guest, Ms. Vandana Kaur. Vandana Kaur, representing technology, is an impressive talent in cybersecurity, AIML, and programming. Her journey is a testament to the innovation and leadership emerging from the next generation of women in STEAM. So representing T is a 16-year-old cyber enthusiast from New Delhi, India, who stands out as a Cisco certified ethical hacker and an ISC2 certified cybersecurity specialist. Only in the 11th grade, she's forging a path of technology and aiming for a bachelor's in technology with a focus on computer science and cybersecurity. Her experience includes a Microsoft FRT internship, working on Azure and AIML, and she's skilled in OSINT and web penetration testing. Vandana is also honing in on her programming through Harvard's CS50P and CS50AI, specializing in Python and AI, and has earned a Python and SQL certification from HackerRank. Phenomenal. A vocal advocate for diversity in tech, she's recognized as a leading Gen Z voice in STEAM, using social media to simplify complex cybersecurity perspectives and concepts. And academically, she's stellar. She scored a 98% in her 10th grade exams and is open to all collaborations to advance cybersecurity safety. Welcome, Vandana. It's a pleasure to meet with you here today and show your talents and showcase your inspiration to the world.
Thank you so much for having me here, ma'am, and thank you so much to AWIS DC.
So let's go ahead and just dive right in, because of course, everybody is super eager to learn about you and your foray into the dynamic world of cybersecurity. Could you please give us a brief description about yourself? What drew you to the field of cybersecurity, and in what way is this pivotal moment or driving force and inspiration to you to pursue this path in cybersecurity?
So, as you guys know, I'm Vandana, a high school senior, or as some people know me, Hack with her. I'm an ethical hacker, but what describes me best is that I'm a passionate learner. I also create videos explaining cybersecurity concepts in ways that helped my teenage mind understand them. This is my way of helping break the barrier of complexity that intimidates a lot of people in this field and make cybersecurity knowledge accessible to everyone. So, the story of how I got into cybersecurity is a bit ironic in the sense that the media, which usually portrays stereotypical images of people in tech, ended up breaking that stereotype for me when I saw the TV show character who was the female leader of a hacker group. I realized the potential that this field had to make a real difference in this world, to protect people from the kinds of negativity that I faced online. And that was the moment that I decided I wanted to be like her and help as many people as I can with my knowledge. My driving force is knowing that I can help open the door to cybersecurity for others like me. And I recently received a message on my LinkedIn from someone saying that their 8-year-old daughter enjoys my videos. And that is the best example of what keeps me going.
That's awesome. And I mean, if you can inspire younger generations, that's awesome and phenomenal. But the fact that you can do that and still encompass such a wide dynamic of cybersecurity and just learning potential for current generations and beyond, that's extraordinary. So thank you for doing that. As far as your platform is concerned, thank you for bringing that to the topic and the table, because that's amazing. Um, how do you think that you would navigate the decision making process with, ensuring that you made a right choice for yourself? How do you think that you're portraying that in this light?
So, when I first started in cybersecurity, I took it up as more of a hobby than a career path. And my love for cybersecurity has only grown since then. So, when it finally came to thinking about internships and career options, it was a pretty simple decision for me because this field isn't just a career choice for me, it's a passion. And this may seem like a cliche, but I realize that when you find something that fulfills you internally, you should turn it into a career so you don't have to work a day in your life.
Absolutely. And that's, I mean, to find that early on is an amazing feat. Most people don't really figure that out until they go to college, graduate, maybe go into the career field. That's something that you've grasped so early. And I think that that's a really good strain of like conductive work on yourself. So I'm very proud of you for doing that. I couldn't tell you what I wanted to do at 16, and I know I probably wanted to go to like medical school and things like that, but I didn't really get a grasp until I joined the military and figured out I'm actually good at this. So let me do cybersecurity, and I just pursued it from there. So kudos to you.
Thank you so much.
So let's no problem. So just to keep with the spirit of things, right? Let's talk about a bit of the cybersecurity, like overcoming challenges and misconduct experiences, because we've all had them, right? So your journey, like many in this field, seems to have its fair share of hurdles, right? Specifically, we've all heard about instances of misconduct in, among students and challenges with peers online and things like that. Maybe a little hint of cyberbullying or some type of situation like that. While I know this is a sensitive topic, and by all means, please excuse the topic that we're going into, but could you share how your experiences have shaped your journey with respect to that? And then how have they influenced your perspective on cybersecurity? And what impact did it have on your personal and professional growth?
So, having experienced the deep end of the digital world firsthand, the one thing that I immediately realized was that cybersecurity is powerfully human. Because after the whole experience, there was a period of time that I spent with myself, mostly brooding. But then I started programming in Python, so brooding and coding. But I got to do a lot of thinking because we as millennials and Gen Z live in two dimensions, the physical world and the digital world. While the physical world does have historically established systems of security and protection of people like policemen, security guards, law enforcement, the digital world needs all of those too, since the digital world is a lot more sophisticated and boundless than our physical one. But we are currently keeping up and evolving with this world. We're heading in the right direction because there's organizations that help trace missing people via OSINT. There's professionals who protect us from sophisticated threats. So being in that experience, my respect for cybersecurity professionals just went through the roof. And as for me personally, I did get a very poetic happy ending. I returned to social media over 2 years later, this time as a cybersecurity enthusiast. And hey, the universe probably wanted to see that 12-year-old girl become an ethical hacker.
Absolutely. And I mean, talk about resilience, flipping something as pessimistic and obscure dynamics to something that you can champion for yourself. I think that is an amazing feat. I couldn't imagine. And I mean, I've gone through, things in my past as well that I can definitely relate for sure. Between, kids' schools and age, like things when I was younger, of course, they don't go away. And you'll notice, like as an adult, like as you progress through your professional career, it does tend to take on a little bit of a different head, and you'll notice what I mean. But always keep that positive attitude, and you will bound feats, I'm sure. So, with respect to that, let's talk about your displaying resilience and optimism. It's truly admirable that you have maintained such a positive and constructive outlook despite these obstacles, right? I'm positive your resilience and optimism stands out as beacons for many. So could you please delve into how you manage to keep such a positive demeanor? Like what strategies or mindsets have you personally navigated through these tough situations? Like, were you also curious about any specific experiences that you might have reinforced in your commitment to cybersecurity? And how have you grown from these challenges?
So, one thing I can say here is that tough times do make tough girls. But I think it's also about the people who stand beside you during those tough times. They help you channel that toughness that you develop into something positive. And in my case, that positive force became my passion for cybersecurity. Tough times do shape you, but in the end, it's your support system, including yourself, that truly helps you grow. Even though sometimes my family doesn't fully understand or know what I'm doing, they've always been my greatest support system. And also, true optimism needs self belief. So you need to become your own support system as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, who better to support yourself than, of course, yourself, right? You are your biggest cheerleader. I have definitely experienced that throughout my endeavors, especially on a professional level, because sometimes you just don't get those cheers from your peers. And that's really something to harness as you keep going. And I mean, that's an amazing, tactic to really hone in on yourself. Um, so you mentioned, and I mentioned, some certifications in ethical hacking. If you don't mind, for those that may not deeply resonate with ethical hacking and what it entails, could you please explain what ethical hacking means and what this certification actually is?
So, the easiest way to understand what ethical hacking is would be through an example. So, before putting my water bottle in my school backpack, I always like to shake it a little bit deliberately to make sure it doesn't open or leak water while I'm walking. And this is to test how tight the water bottle is closed. And similarly, the water bottle can be thought of as a system, which can be a website or a computer or a device, and the water inside of it as data. And ethical hackers try to hack the system to see how well the data inside it is protected before the bad guys actually get to it. Ethical hacking is also called penetration testing, which, if you think about it literally, it means testing how a hacker can penetrate or get into a system. And as for me and my certification, I am a Cisco verified ethical hacker, which means I went through a course, some quizzes, a final project, and cleared an exam to perform an in depth hack into a system with consent, of course, to help identify ways in which a malicious hacker could potentially exploit it.
I mean, and there you have it, right? So I'm sure for the audience, They may not have seen your LinkedIn page, but you've done just exactly how I've seen you mirror it, where you take something that's a nominal case and you put it into a perspective of the normal world where we all can really understand it. And that transition is one of the hierarchs that I really like love about your system and your approach to the knowledge to explain it to people that just don't get this constant communication of cybersecurity elements and things like that. They're just not in this field. And it's not to intrude on someone and, belittle them or anything, but it explains in a way that they can understand and support the theory and the knowledge that you're trying to ensue. So amazing, right? So thank you for that explanation. I love it. So in the world of ethical, or in the world of cybersecurity, actually, professionals often find that the landscape is much defined by the unforeseen hurdles as it is by the technical expertise required to navigate it. So with this in mind, could you take us on some type of, I don't know, a critical lesson that may have emerged in your journey so far? Like, can you tell us anything about, a moment of realization or encounters that you may have, unexpected challenges, or even like personal milestones that might have lasting impact on you?
So, a very interesting thing about me in cybersecurity is that it wasn't until August of 2023 that my family learned about my passion for cybersecurity. They had absolutely no idea I was doing anything of the sort. They knew I liked to code a little bit here and there, but the whole world of ethical hacking and cybersecurity was something I kept hidden from them. And many people ask me, why did you even hide it from them? It's something that they would be proud of. And I get that. They are really proud of me. But I kept it to myself because honestly, I was just worried I might not make it here. It might be too complex for me. And when I first started exploring cybersecurity, it felt very overwhelming. There was so much to learn and so many technical details, and I felt I would not belong in that world. So I I realized that all those doubts that I had, what if it's too complex, what if I'm not good enough, were just holding me back from actually learning and growing. And I realized that there's no magic switch that automatically flips and suddenly you're a great hacker. The key is to actually embrace the learning process because cybersecurity is a journey, it's not a destination. And one of the most impactful lessons that I've learned is the importance of being a student. Because in the end, all of the greatest experts are just really good students.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm always an advocate of lifelong learning. So you have a crystal clear shot of what you have to do from here on out. And that's great. Um, so, as far as methodology is concerned, how have you influenced your methodology for continuous learning and adaptation in this fast paced and ever changing field?
Um, my methodology has changed in the sense that I've learned to enjoy the process rather than look forward to the destination. And I've accepted that I may not know everything or always understand the right things, but right now I've only explored the tip of the iceberg, and I have a lot more to learn and have fun with. Because not every student is an expert, but like I said, every expert is a student. In this journey, there are going to be a lot of times, especially in cybersecurity, that I'm going to have to unlearn and relearn a lot of things just to keep up with this like sea of new methodologies and new age threats. And this mindset that I'm slowly trying my best to develop makes the challenging parts of cybersecurity seem thrilling for me.
Well, well said. And I mean, that methodology is something that I'm probably going to take with me for sure. So I hope it's not, trademarked or anything like that. Um, so, I mean, hearing this whole ordeal of how you fashioned from your schools and your studies and everything to a certified ethical hacker. That is not a small jump. So I just want to make sure you know that that is no small feat. I mean, even as a cybersecurity professional myself, I'm still learning things every day. There's a new transition, a new phase. I don't know if you've seen, but recently, CISA here in the US was actually infiltrated. I mean, even the best agencies in the world have had some type of crazy discovery that they don't understand and they didn't know why. They didn't know that they had that ability to have that penetration or that offset in their modeling. And that's just something we have to face every day. I mean, internationally, or whether I'm here in the US or you're there in India, we're just never going to constantly escape the world of cybersecurity. And right now, because it doesn't have any governing policies and things like that that are really concrete, like you said, the cops and the judges and the advocates that take over this whole spectrum, we're going to see growth and development over the next couple of decades where this will be integrated into it. And then we may or may not be a part of that scenario, but for sure, we're definitely going to learn along the way. So I'm with you on it. So let's keep learning together for sure. So we're going to take another question and then we're going to take a simulated break. But can you share your insights on how your experiences have sculpted your strategies for your personal and professional development and growth? And I say personal and professional because I think that because you haven't catapulted into a severely professional character, I think that your model for your professional goals is probably going to continue through your high school development and then transition into your full out, formality of college and university studies. So again, how do you have your sights set on this aspect?
For a long time, I was kind of insecure about making mistakes and being in the process of learning, like I mentioned. So the greatest insight or learning that I have is that you should be okay with being a learner, be okay with making mistakes and not knowing everything. But one thing to not be okay with is letting insecurities or ego get the best of you in this journey. Because to yourself, you are either the best cheerleader or the greatest critic, or both sometimes. And it's totally your choice who you want to be for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who has not had that internal battle, right? So here we're gonna just pause for a second so that it rolls over, but we're gonna keep going, and then we'll internally fix the curating piece on the back end. So innovation thrives on diverse perspectives, making diversity and inclusion not just ethical introspectives, but strategic advantages in cybersecurity. And we all know that the depths of unethical consequences in the world may insist on the theory that the effects are similar across the ocean. And so, of course, Bandana is already insinuated that these things are translational from the United States and in India and far and wide. So, from what you have experienced so far, what concrete actions can the cybersecurity community undertake to cultivate a more diverse and inclusive environment?
So I was actually thinking about this a couple days ago when I saw the snippet of a YouTube video where someone asked people of different age groups what it means to run like a girl. Older men and women themselves showed a really stigmatized image, like, I'm not trying to mess my hair up or just being this very fragile creature. But when that same question was asked to 4 to 10-year-olds, and this is the part where it gets interesting, they had such a powerful answer. They said it means running the fastest that you can. And ironically enough, as that age group got younger and younger, the response was way more mature than the older ones. And something like that just makes you wonder what happened there and where did we, while aging, go wrong? And when did being a girl turn into an insult? And what's so unintellectual or embarrassing about being feminine? The thing is, mass media happened. Not representing femininity the right way happened. Studies show that a girl's self esteem actually plummets around the age of 12. And I speak from experience here when I say that seeing Katie Heron from Mean Girls failing her classes as soon as she started dressing up did make my 10 to 12-year-old mind associate painting my nails with something very wrong. And the cookie cutter representation of people in technology, in movies, and pop culture is just a rotten cherry of top that you do not need. And I know I talked a lot about gender here, but this applies to every diversity in every way possible. Because in today's world, we are what we eat, and we are the content that we consume online, especially the young audience like me. And subconsciously, if that content or that data set that subconsciously trains our brain is biased, there's going to be bias in some way or form in our thoughts or actions. And the best way to promote diversity, not just in cybersecurity, but in every field in STEAM, is to eliminate that bias, which is the root cause of any kind of prejudice. And the best way to do that would be representation. Like I mentioned, the female hacker that I watched on TV was the game changer for me. She made me believe I could hack. And similarly, you could be the game changer for someone else. So I could give you 100 tips and program ideas, and we do have a lot of really great people doing great work with programs promoting diversity out there. But as long as we don't think open-mindedly ourselves, none of those programs can be a true success. Also, a great point to add here is that we need diversity not just to fill quotas, but also because nobody deserves to feel unwelcome anywhere. And the moment we start welcoming diversity here and here is the moment diverse people feel welcome everywhere. So we do have a lot to learn from the kids, don't we?
Absolutely. And I mean, I have a 3-year-old niece, and she is by far the most sustained person that I've ever met because she speaks her mind. There's no bias. And it's just thought, and that's what it is. And I think that the older we get, the more conscious we are, and the more, accepting of society we become, where we think, I won't be accepted if I do this, or I won't be accepted if I look or feel or think or see or like this. And I think that when we're younger, we don't see all those vibes. We're not engulfed in the normal primary essence of the world around us. We have no intuition, just our parents, right? And we are what we are actually surrounded by. When we're that young, we're surrounded by nothing but the influence of our parents and the good that they instill in us and the morals and the ethics and things like that. But as you grow older, you get into the age where you go to school, you pivot into these friendship circles, and then you start working in these productive areas. That's when the dynamics start to change. And I definitely see that for face value and for positive. So that is a very good explanation. I'm glad you brought that up because that's something that we need to hear, right? Um, so with that being said, are there any particular programs, initiatives, policies that you may know of that could effectively encourage diversity in terms of gender, race, ethnicity, and neurodiversity within this field or any field in STEAM?
So there are a lot of programs and a lot of people out there making an entry into technology and all the STEAM fields more comfortable and welcoming for people of diverse backgrounds. A really good example being AWIS. But also, there are a lot of people doing a lot of great work. So if I were to mention some or all of them, this live stream would just not end.
And that would be fine because I will stay on here all day with you. Because I mean, the intellect, it's very encouraging for sure. So, with that being said, how do these efforts enhance creativity or problem solving and resilience against cyber threats, in your view, of course?
So, like I mentioned before, we need diversity not just when it's convenient to us, but because nobody deserves to feel unwelcome. But if we're looking on the other side of that coin, if we're looking at the benefits of promoting diversity, cybersecurity thrives on diverse perspectives. Each new way of thinking provides a different solution to our new age threats. And perspective is not something that you just flip a switch and you get it. Perspective is
Yeah.
developed over time by a person's physical, mental, and emotional background. And the best way to add some life to these otherwise boring and cliche statements would be using a personal experience of mine, which is the Indian concept of jugaad. It basically means finding the most creative and resourceful workarounds for complex problems, especially when resources are limited. Some people have even created air conditioners using discarded car parts, and a farmer even created a drip irrigation system using old glucose bottles. So imagine the sort of innovation that could take place, not just in cybersecurity, when people with such diverse ideals and such rich ideals are given the right power and resources that they so deserve.
Yeah, I mean, and taking that knowledge into perspective, right? We look at some of the more second and third world countries that don't have the faculties that we have here, right? Or in your country, in Delhi, India, they have a means to an end. And so they figure out a way to harness whatever they need from things that they have in their environment. And that's a very good way to put it. And I appreciate that sentiment for real. um, so I mean, let's change gears momentarily um, to talk about something near and dear, mentorship. I love mentorship. Um, Mentorship is, a relational change between uh, peer and peer, where guidance and advice and support are provided for a personal and a professional development. It is characterized by mutual respect, the trust, communication, serving as a valuable tool to achieve your goals and navigate changes. Um, Mentorship can play a significant role in career development. Mentorship has also become the transformative power to illuminate paths previously unseen, observing and offering guidance through a labyrinth of career challenges and opportunities. especially in a complex field like cybersecurity. Um, so, with that in mind, can you share your experience with mentorship within this domain?
So I've been really lucky when it comes to mentorship in cybersecurity because my family members, even though they didn't know what I was doing, even though they don't completely understand what I do, my family members have always been my greatest mentors. But other than them, through LinkedIn and other online forums, I've found hundreds of incredible people that I consider my mentors. And this community is actually so welcoming and has welcomed me with such open arms. And I always love to give that love back in whatever way I can.
And that's great because I mean, that's the sentiments I share exactly. I wouldn't be here today talking to you had I not had very good focus and very good mentorship along the ways that I've had through my military and even my professional career. I think mentorship is a big element in progressing yourself and being able to pass that to other people. So, absolutely. Um, how has the guidance from a mentor or mentors illuminated your path, influenced your decisions, and shaped your approach to challenges that you face on a daily or that you might think that you may face in the future?
All of my mentors have not just shared their thoughts with me, rather, they've taught me a way to think. And I'm really grateful to all of them. But one very simple piece of advice in particular that just ended up clicking with me is something my mom said to me when I was stressing out over school exams. Knowledge and hard work will never go to waste. I realized that I was worrying so much about failing tests that I lost sight of the real goal. And I've been carrying this simple piece of advice that my mom gave me in every single thing I do, whether it's cybersecurity or school homework. Her advice actually changed my approach to learning as a whole.
Well, I'm sure that you would not like to, solicit your mother for everyone on this call, but I would love to embark on that. So please sign me up because she seems like a phenomenal person. And ergo, the fact that she doesn't have the cybersecurity knowledge, that knowledge base is so in tune across all spectrums. So kudos to your mom for being such an enlightened detail in your life. That's amazing. Um, so here we are. So embarking on a career in cybersecurity, of course, is a daunting and exciting task. Given the field's complexity and the critical nature of its mission, whether you're in the government spaces or commercial sectors in the market, to ensure that everyone is following with this concept that I'm talking. The government sector is encompassing the entities that are a part or directly associated with the government at various levels, whether it be federal, state, or local, which implies the same kind of essence for, in Delhi, India, right? Operations in this sector are primarily focused on providing public services, and the goals are oriented to public welfare, security, infrastructure, regulation, and policy implementation, which we have definitely gone over. Um, the government sector is funded by public money, and its operations are subject to high levels of scrutiny, transparency, and accountability. Moreover, it operates within a framework of regulations and policies that are often more stringent than those in the commercial sector. Now, on the opposite coin, the commercial sector is also known as the private sector, which includes businesses and organizations that are privately owned and operated, ranging from small enterprises to multinational corporations. The primary objective in a commercial sector is profit generation, although many businesses also aim to provide social goods. This, this sector is actually driven by market demands as well as competition, innovation, and efficiency. Um, while it is regulated by governing laws and regulations, it generally enjoys more of a flexibility in its operations compared to the government sector. So the main differences between the two sectors include their funding for resources and sources sought, their objectives, operational freedoms, and the regulatory environments in which they operate. So now for you, um, drawing from your journey and the wisdom that you've accumulated throughout your entire knowledge base from your school, the Harvard U programming course that you've been taking, your internships, your certifications that you've accumulated. What advice would you give to those that are starting their path in cybersecurity or facing challenges similar to those that you've encountered?
So the biggest challenge that I encountered starting out was that I only ever had middle school IT knowledge. And cybersecurity concepts, especially for the ISC to CC, were largely theoretical, so understanding them was in itself a huge task. Understanding what an IDS was, how encryption worked, when I only ever knew how to operate Microsoft Word, was challenging for me, especially considering the kind of languages that was the language that was used in study resources was not at all child friendly or even fun to read. So I
Mm.
decided to take matters into my own hands here and relate whatever I read in a study resource to a real life scenario where I could apply that and use analogies. Now, I try my best to help people who feel the same way that I did, and I try my best to give them a different take and a different way to think about something that's not as complex.
And I mean, I have seen the versions of complexity that you've broken down into mere models of annotated focus, and the breadth that you bring to the table is amazing. So I applaud you for doing that, especially in this climate, right? You often see individuals that are so hyper focused on the modeling and the cybersecurity elements that they forget that there are people that are just coming into this forum and really learning and trying to thrive in their own element. But they really want to harness that information scale that these people that we're coming to actually understand. So bravo for you being that stretch between both bridges. I promise you it's a dynamic way to think, and it's amazing that you platform that for yourself. Um, are the strategies, mindsets, resources that you found particularly effective for navigating obstacles, staying driven, and achieving your goals in this field? Have you identified any of them? Do you have any to share with us? And just for edification, your insights. Could you kind of give us a little bit of a scope of knowledge for the next generation that might be watching this platform and wanting to become that cybersecurity professional?
So, this piece of advice that I'm going to give you applies to all of STEAM. The most powerful thing that you can have starting out in any field is your perspective and your mindset. If something seems tough to you, change your perspective. If something seems too technical or complicated, look around you and relate it to your own life. Also, another very important thing, don't listen to stereotypes. If you're truly passionate about this field, you're most welcome here.
Absolutely. And we welcome everybody in this field. And though AWIS is specifically designed to push the boundaries for women, we do actually encompass male individuals as attendees to these conferences. We have individuals that are on the board that sit and they are also male, and you know, we welcome all characteristics. So that is a very good platform to stand on. So kudos for you. Um, this next question is actually going to be designed as a bit of a comprehensive understanding, if you want to call it that. Starting with a career in cybersecurity, recognizing and mitigating threats, and finding resources that offer a more valuable insight into the field. So, advice for aspiring cybersecurity professionals. Again, um, the lure for the career in cybersecurity is not only in its promise of being like that forefront combating, you know, digital threats, and also like the opportunity that it provides to have this continuous learning and continuous problem solving where you fix puzzles. You're a big puzzle person. This is one of those things for you. Um, for young professionals or young individuals drawn to the STEAM fields and considering a specialization in cybersecurity, what foundational advice would you offer to navigate their initial steps?
Cybersecurity is such an incredible and vast and fun field. So make sure you take your time and have fun exploring every single niche, like web app penetration testing, OSINT, and everything via online platforms like Try Hack Me and Hack the Box. And also, please understand that ethical hackers are almost nothing like the movies. I mean, yes, we are awesome and the work we do is very cool, but we don't all wear hoodies and have an unhealthy coffee addiction. Some of us wear denim dresses too.
Or blue cobalt dresses? So, um, could you suggest any essential skills or any knowledge areas that anyone in this field or trying to focus on this field should potentially go into, or would you recommend anything strategic for gaining practical experience, like internships or certifications or projects that you may have encountered that you think that would help with someone that's getting into this field?
I know there's a lot of talk that surrounds certifications and entry-level roles in cybersecurity. And while I know I am not the most experienced person to be addressing this topic, but I'll try to provide my opinion based on the knowledge that I have accumulated as of now. So, first off, don't go for certifications straight away. Explore your own niche and decide on your long term goals first. Certifications do validate knowledge and they do matter on a resume, but in depth understanding of your work is what's going to truly take you far. The second thing when it comes
Absolutely.
to certification, the second thing when it comes to certifications is don't go for just any certification out there, mainly because a lot of them require a lot of time and financial investment. Instead, find ones that relate to you and align with your own long-term goals. One shoe does not fit all here. I personally went for the ISC to CC as a foundational cert because I wanted to check out the basic and foundational knowledge that every professional has in this field. And coming to the next thing, which is a bit of a controversy in cybersecurity, which is to code or not to code. It mainly depends on the kind of role that you're going for, particularly in GRC or project management, cybersecurity sales. Coding is not going to be a big requirement. But if you're going a bit more on the technical side of things, particularly like penetration testing or security engineering, having that scripting language with you is really going to benefit you. A really good example of this is Python. And my last piece of advice, start working the job before you get the job. Like, if you want to be a penetration tester, start helping organizations by conducting a penetration test for them and document your journey.
Absolutely. And I mean, thank you for mentioning those because that's something that we have not talked about here. And that would be like the ISC2 platform for cybersecurity development. There's actually a free cybersecurity model. They're doing, I think, $1 million worth of cybersecurity certifications. And if you sign up, there's a course load that they go through. And then once you think that you've got the knowledge base that you're, for the necessary requirements and yield the information that they give you and you think that you're good to go, you can go ahead and take their certification for the cybersecurity introduction level skill base. And that's a good model to kind of platform and plateau, catapult into. to make sure that you understand baseline cybersecurity knowledge. Now, of course, there's other things like EC Council for the ethical hacking or Cisco for ethical hacking, like you've done yourself. There's also CompTIA, where I know a lot of people on this platform might have heard for Security Plus or CISA or something like that. And then the ISACA coordination of certifications, that's also another platform. So with all this in mind, definitely make sure that you as a professional, you as and I'm just saying for the people at all, right? Make sure you do a heavy knowledge base first before you get into something like cybersecurity, because there's so many platforms that can integrate you, and you want to make sure you find one that focuses on the track for you. So amazing skill base. I appreciate and applaud that answer. Definitely threw out some information that I could give for, everybody on this conference, if you want to call it that, to know where to find this information. And you could Google it. So you already have, an amazing following, I'm sure. We are connected on LinkedIn, and that's where we kind of hatched our own mode of connection and friendship, and conceived that whole platform for us. So with that being said, because we're literally a whole ocean away from each other, how important is it to network early in this field? And what are the best ways for somebody to actually, platform or put themselves into that whole model of networking? And this doesn't just connect to people that are, early on. This connects also with seasoned professionals too. So what advice would you give them as far as like the networking, personification? What would you say for those people?
The best piece of advice that I ever got was to be the dumbest person in the room so that you have every opportunity to grow and learn. I got most of my mentors and opportunities to learn from people I met on LinkedIn, like you, ma'am. And there are challenges and there are challenges that surround breaking into STEAM fields, but a great way to overcome them is by putting yourself out there and expressing your interest and your passion to learn from seniors in a very respectful way. Because if you're facing a certain difficulty, chances are you're not alone. And your seniors have probably faced them too and overcome them. So join lots of communities and groups which relate to you, make some great friends, and there are plenty of incredible people in this field who love to help out anyone with a passion to learn.
Absolutely. And I second that motion for sure. So shifting gears just a little bit, let's talk about knowledge and understanding cybersecurity threats. Big one, right? So cybersecurity threats often lurk in digital shadows, right? Making this seem distant or theoretical to the unwitting prior to manifesting themselves with a potential and often devastating consequence. Um, so from your perspective, what is a major cybersecurity threat that individuals should be particularly vigilant about in today's digital landscape?
So, a major cybersecurity threat that individuals and organizations should be particularly vigilant about is social engineering. What makes it stand out and what makes it particularly dangerous is that, unlike attacks that exploit software vulnerabilities, social engineering exploits human vulnerabilities. We've all encountered something of the sort in one way or another, whether it's people from your bank calling you to make an update online through a link or provide an OTP, or people calling you um, to claim to give you a job in exchange for a certain amount of money.
Right.
Scammers have even gone as far as exploiting the religious sentiments of people in India for their own purposes. So we recently had the inauguration of a temple here in India. So scammers turned that into an opportunity for their own celebration. Many people complained of receiving links, clicking on which would apparently get them some sort of holy offerings from the temple delivered to their home. And another recent instance of this was when a 23-year-old girl from my own hometown was called by people claiming to be the police, putting her on a digital arrest, wherein she had to stay on a Skype call for 17 days and ended up giving them nearly $3,000 to bail herself out. Here, the attackers preyed on her fear of actually getting arrested to get money out of her. So think of social engineering attacks like this. So there's a thief who wants to break into your house. Traditionally, they might pick a lock or smash a window, but a social engineer will try to trick you into opening that door for them yourself. So social engineering is the art of human hacking.
And that is one of the things that I'm sure here in the US, like in India, they have experienced, from the cell phone messages for UPS package shipments. I think that's one of the ones that we usually get, or even utilizing someone's voice in an AI platform to call someone, maybe an elder or someone, and say that they are being held for ransom. Things like that. That's definitely an ideal track to stay away from. So if you encounter any of these things, definitely steer away from them. They are targeting you, and it's not good. Um, so thank you for that explanation, because I'm sure I've never heard of anything about someone using a religious preference to platform all of this endeavor into getting money from. So that is insane to me, and I couldn't imagine that being a thing here in the US, but you never know, right? So, I mean, let's dive a little bit deeper. 1 second. So, could you explain how this threat operates and common individuals or organizations that might unwittingly expose themselves to it? Like, is there a way, simple yet effective, of a measure that can be taken from an average person's perspective to protect themselves from a threat such as this?
So, like I mentioned before, social engineering attacks exploit vulnerabilities in humans and human emotions. So, some of the tactics that attackers use to get you hooked into that attack can be put into a way in DUF, DUF, deception, which is phishing. Phishing means sending emails or texts to deceive you and appear legitimate. Or you can use pretexting as a form of deception, which means creating a fake scenario to gain your trust. The U from DUF means urgency, like somebody might create a sense of panic in your head so that you immediately reply to them. And the F in DUF stands for fear. Like I mentioned, that girl who was on a digital arrest, the tactic here used was fear to get her hooked into that attack and exploit her feelings. Now, the vulnerability here is very human. These attackers tend to exploit human emotions in ways that can benefit them. And the way this attack can be so dangerous is that individuals will unwittingly expose themselves to some kinds of malware or expose their personal information online or over the phone without verifying the source or downloading some sort of attachments. Now, if an unethical hacker wanted to, now in terms of organizations, if an unethical hacker wanted to attack an organization, they would first perform passive recon, which means doing a kind of view on the attack surface without letting them know that you're there. So we would perform a passive recon on the employees, particularly those who have a good amount of privilege and power in the organization, And suppose the unethical hacker found that one of them liked to collect old paintings. So the attacker made a fake vintage painting website with some client side attack exploit code and advertised it to that person via email. The victim would just happily click click on the link and browse the website, and the hacker would get a foothold on their computer, which could be used to access the organization's assets. So, social engineering attacks are just as harmful to organizations as they are to individuals. And when it comes to organizational security against social engineering attacks, unaware employees are the weakest link. So, building a strong security posture starts with everyone being informed with basic cybersecurity knowledge. Regular security awareness training can significantly reduce the risk of human error in putting the organization's assets in danger. And as for personal cybersecurity and how we as individuals can protect ourselves from these threats, the best way to protect yourself is to be aware. So, whenever you get a message that you feel like can be categorized in the D, U, or F, just alert yourself and verify the source where it's coming from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, pure knowledge, right? You know who you converse with on a daily basis. So, I mean, even if you get something from your grandmother or, a brother, definitely, call and verify before you are subject to some of these horrible episodes. So, thank you for your perspective on that. I love the transition and definitely like the information that you're telling me from and perspective from Indian culture where they see something totally different than we do here in the US. I mean, we probably wouldn't encounter the same things, but the likeliness and the type is definitely the same. So definitely very informative on a cross the ocean knowledge for sure. So I mean, unfortunately, I'm out of questions. So as we wrap up this insightful conversation, I'd like to turn the floor back over to you for any closing statements or final thoughts that you may have, reflecting on the discussion today and considering the breadth of topics that we have discussed, from the foundational advice for those entering the cybersecurity field to the nuanced challenges of ensuring privacy in the digital age and the exciting advancements of everything in cybersecurity. Like, what final message would you want to portray to the audience that is listening here and abroad that you would like to leave for us today?
Everything that makes you yourself is your greatest superpower. 3 years ago, if you had asked me, I had never imagined someone my age who faced the same things I did could make a real difference and learn cybersecurity. But the truth is, this field needs all kinds of minds, the curious, the creative, and yes, even the ones who feel like they don't fit in. The challenges that we face, the things that make us different, and the things that we perceive of as our own shortcomings will become our greatest strengths one day. And speaking of cybersecurity, this field needs diverse perspectives. People who can think outside the box, people who bring their own perspective to the table. So don't be afraid to bring your whole self and your unique experiences and your viewpoints. So, for anyone out there who might feel like they don't belong, believe in yourself because you are your greatest superpower.
Superb advice. Superb. So, um, with those powerful words, I mean, we conclude our interview with you here. Vandana, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your insights with us today. I've enjoyed you. I can't say enough crazy, braggy, boastful things about you here and in my own entourage of cybersecurity specialists. I've been talking about you this entire time, and I'm sure on behalf of AWIS DC, we are more than excited to talk to you and have this on our platform as a constant reminder that diversity reaches across all fields. Cybersecurity is open. We are obviously very, very excited to have people like you in the field, and we hope that you have the best, very best in your endeavors coming forward. Please do not hesitate to keep in touch with me. This is not going to be our last discussion for sure. I just want to put that on notes so that it's recorded and you can always reference back if you don't hear from me in 2 weeks and say, look, Amber, where the heck have you been? You said, okay. So with that, I would like to take this opportunity to express that, to our audience, we hope that this discussion has enlightened you and on the complexities of the crucial role in cybersecurity in today's world, and inspired even you to either embark on or continue your journey with renewed vigor and perspective. I'd like to take this opportunity also to promote our STEAM speaker series and highlight that we will be promoting the next speaker very soon. We have not identified that person yet, but I know for a fact that it's going to be, I don't know how I could top this speaker series, but we'll try for sure, okay? So thank you for joining us, and stay safe in the digital world. I'm your host, Ambericent Cornett, with my esteemed guest, Vandana Kaur, and we are empowering women in science, one discovery at a time. Until next time.